award-winning songwriter, cancer survivor. I remember you told me that you started having an ear for music around 3 years old. What about music keeps you going? Why is that your passion?
I would advise that when going through a challenge, you have to remain positive. Keep your thoughts clean. Always find those moments of solitude. Avoid negative sources. Avoid negative conversations. Surround yourself with people who's going to encourage you. People who's going to pour into you. That's what music is to me. It's a very encouraging thing. It's a support system for me. It's healing. It's soothing.
I always like to think of music as like the soundtrack to your life. It relates to every aspect of my life. I have a tattoo and there's a boombox. Coming out of the boombox is a heart and like a knife, a cleaver. And in my mind, it means music relates to everything good and bad.
Music is a universal language. Music helps to express what words can't say out of tune. It was detected in the liver. I had a mass on my liver, and the mass was growing inside the liver out. So it was almost wrapped around. You ever seen like a candy cane where it starts and it swirls and it swirls and it swirls and it swirls? So it started from inside and it worked its way outside and took control of the whole liver, and it was beginning to spread.
All right, thank you for tuning into this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Today I have a super special guest with me, award-winning songwriter, cancer survivor, Mr. Jazzy Matt. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Jazz. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on this
Yeah,
wonderful
man.
podcast, and I'm just happy to have the chance to share.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming to share with us today. Let's get right into it. The first question I want to ask you is what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's going through some type of challenge in their life, whether that's big, small, whether that's finances, school, whatever that may be? What kind of advice would you give to somebody going through a challenge in their life right now?
I would I would advise that when going through a challenge, you have to remain positive. Keep your thoughts clean. Always find those fine moments of solitude. Avoid negative sources. Avoid negative conversations. You know, Surround yourself with people who's going to encourage you. People who's going to pour into you. Words of wisdom, words of life, words of encouragement, words of restoration, words of rejuvenation. And those are some of the key principles to assist you along the way when you're challenged, because it's so easy to fall off the radar, especially when it seems like all arrows are darting at you and the world is against your shoulder, and you're trying to find that middle ground. But always remember that don't be anxious for nothing, but in prayer and supplication. So don't allow your anxiety to get the best of the situation. Always keep a positive outlook. And then you have to have a positive affirmation for the day through the challenge. Every day you wake up, for as long as that challenge is there, today is another day that we're going to overcome this challenge. Today is going to be a better day than yesterday. Today is going to be the day where we may be challenged, but we're not going to let that rob us of our exuberance and our joy and our peace of mind. And one of the main things is just to stay prayerful. During challenges, which goes back to always keep your communication to God open, because that is the one ear through the spirit of comfort that will, help to ease all that there is as far as questions, feelings, and emotions is concerned. Because as people, we're very emotional. So any small thing that we hear or grab hold to, then that'll be the thing that'll flip our emotions upside down. So you want to keep your emotions stable, you want to keep your mental stable, you want to keep your physical stable, and most of all, you want to keep your heart in the right place. Whenever you're challenged.
Yeah, I like that. I like a bunch of things that you said there. I like what you said about the positivity and keeping that positivity from all parts of your environment.
Absolutely.
And diet, it's funny, diet always sounds like your your food that you have coming in, right? Diet is the energy Diet is the things that you're listening to, right? Diet, part of your diet is how often you're staying in tune with God, right? That's all part of your diet as well, and is extremely important. When I was going through this whole cancer situation, this whole cancer journey that I had going on, a big thing for me was just trying to lead by example with my attitude. I always relate cancer to like war. I always say like cancer is like war. It's a battle, and you're going through all of these tough times, or like you were just saying, through a challenge, and you need all the positive juju, positive energy, all the prayers, all the God that you can get, all of it. Yeah. So I totally agree with what you said there about overcoming challenges in your life. So I know, like I brought up earlier, you're an award-winning songwriter and composer. So what about music? I remember you told me that you started having an ear for music around 3 years old. What about music? It like keeps you going. Why is that your passion? What about music really fuels you?
Music. Music is a universal language, as we all know. And then, the thing with music, music helps to express musically what words can't say out of tune, if that sounds right. It's very soothing, it's very relaxing. For every stage and every trial, every part of life, there's some kind of song that can relate to every area where you may be challenged, where you may be happy, where you may be sad, where you may be in love, you may be out of love, you may be challenged. You may a joyous moment, a peaceful moment, a moment to think. I always looked at music life. I call it life songs. There's always a song for whatever situation or whatever facet of life that you're in. So music always had a impact on me where it was my hiding place, and it still is. I can play a song and I can play music, and then whatever it is that I'm feeling, whether I'm feeling sad or if I'm feeling moody, if I'm feeling you know indifferent, if I'm feeling indecisive, I just turn on me some music, some good affirmation music. Because for me, there's a song for everything. And I find that perfect song that's going to suit me for that moment. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm in a funk and I'm like, you know what, I want to shake this thing off of me, let me find a song because, I'm going to find a way to rejoice through it. And music has always been a comforting place for me. You know what I'm saying? I can listen to music all day long and not have no friends around me. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I was as a kid. I would pull out my records and just play my music all day long and would never get tired until I got tired because that was my safe space for me. So music is healing. It's a very cleansing tool. It doesn't soothe all, but it helps to get an understanding of what it is. So that person it may be something that you hear in the song. It may be a line that you're like, wow, I never thought about it that way. You know what I'm saying? So even if it's a sad bluesy song, it's something in it. It's a lesson in the song. Especially if you're listening to a song that's telling a story. So that's what music is to me. It's a very encouraging thing. It's a support system for me. It's healing. It's soothing. It's rejuvenating to me. It's this very, what's the word? It's a very exuberant thing for me. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Psh. I think everybody loves some type of music, right? And so I love that you're able to connect with music and express and create through music. I always wish I could like sing or play an instrument or something like that. I never I never spent any time myself. I always played a whole bunch of sports. But music, similar to like what you're saying, is it relates to every aspect of my life. I have a tattoo. I have a tattoo on my ribs, and there's a boombox, and coming out of the boombox is a heart and like a knife, a cleaver. And in my mind, it means music relates to everything good and bad. And so yeah, I love music, man. It relates. There's been times, right? Like I was going through cancer, there's been times when just these headphones and me is getting me through this tough place in my life, you know, and I always like to think of music as like the soundtrack to your life. You know what I'm saying? You in the car, you playing whatever music you riding to, right? You go on a road trip or like you out and about, you know, if you in the restaurant, they got certain music they playing, you know, you got elevator music, you know, like if you walking around, you go and work out, then you put some headphones in, you can control your soundtrack, you know, so it's just real emotional. You know, it gives you a feeling. That's 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 what I think is the biggest thing about it is I love the feeling that it gives you, and then you can control those feelings and cater those to whatever you're feeling right now. So I love your connection to music. That's really awesome. Um, you know, looking back, kind of taking a step back, looking back as you've gone through cancer, and so you had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? Kind of explain to people like what is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma before we move forward.
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is a cancer of the B cell, and it is a lighter version of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Non-Hodgkin's is less aggressive, but it can be progressive if not um, caught in a genuine amount of time. So for those who, for lack of better words, that's one of the ones that if someone was to get or contract cancer, that would be the one that you would want because it's curable, not just treatable. It's curable and treatable. But from my stance of it is that yeah, it's curable, it's treatable, but if not detected in a great amount of time, then it can turn into Hodgkin's, and it can destroy the main organs of the body, which will cause one to demise. So non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is that particular cancer. It's not as aggressive, but it can get aggressive. And it can spread throughout many parts of the body. Mine was on its way spreading. When mine was detected, it was detected in the liver. I had a mass on my liver, and the mass was growing inside the liver out. So it was almost wrapped around. You ever seen like a candy cane where it starts and it swirls and it swirls and it swirls and it swirls? So it started from inside and it worked its way outside and took control of the whole liver. And it was beginning to spread to the back parts of my extremities.
Okay, man, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy. When I figured out that I had cancer, I had a lump in my lymph node, and so you had non-Hodgkin's. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and so I had like my lymph node was swollen out of my neck, and once I got the scan done, it was like bulky. It was below my diaphragm, so it was technically stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. But I didn't have any symptoms. It was crazy. Other than I had like a knot in my neck. What what caused you to, or how did you figure out that you had cancer?
Well, I won't even say it was a figure out. It was just there was so many different side effects that was beginning to happen to me, in increments in different phases. And the most important thing is that when your body is indicating to you that something is wrong, take that. Especially when there's certain things that you do, there's certain things that don't happen to you that now starts to happen. Those are the things that you will want to question. And one of the first signs that I knew, didn't think about it then, but when you get in your quiet time, you begin to think about events past. You begin to recall some moments where you're like, what, that was another sign. It all started with digestion. That's what it started with. I would eat something and it felt like my chest would get really tight. Now this is maybe about a year prior to me getting to chemotherapy. A year prior, where I was eating a fish sandwich one day from McDonald's. I'll never forget it. And I've never had no problems with eating anything. I'm one of those kids. I can eat. I never had no problems with digestion, none of that stuff. Because my mother took very good care of me when I was a kid. She didn't play with my immunization charts. Yeah, I had allergies a lot as a kid growing up, but as far as like other sicknesses and stuff like that, that never was my thing. So just this one day, I went to go eat a fish sandwich, and it felt awkward. Like, trying to digest it, it felt my chest got real tight. Seemed like as soon as it got like right here, it felt like my esophagus was somebody just took my esophagus and was ringing it. That's what it felt like. So I would have to lift my hands. I thought that maybe I ate the sandwich too fast. It wasn't, digesting. That would happen quite frequent. But once again, I ignored it because I said, maybe it's just me getting older. Maybe I just ate the food too fast. Or maybe because I didn't eat anything at the time I was supposed to, made it eye opener. But like I said, I didn't pay no attention. And then after that, months later, after that, I began to experience fatigue. I would be winded sometimes. But I didn't think about it because I said, you know what? I worked a job where I was on my feet all the time. So yeah, that was one. But that wasn't, as bad. But the stomach pains started happening where I was starting to get these sharp, piercing pains on my right side. And that was another a bigger indication of something is going wrong inwardly in that area. That started happening, and then it got down to me losing a tremendous amount of weight. It got down to that. Also, it went from that to me having night sweats. Like at night, my body would just go into like a full shock. I would wake up in cold sweats, and it's like my body I just would just produce all this liquid from my glands, and my pillows were soaking wet, my bed was soaking wet, but it would only happen at night. Night sweats, and I was getting up going to work every day. So I mean, I was losing a lot of water. I wasn't hydrated because I was sweating profusely and they couldn't understand why. And that was another major sign. And that's when it all boiled down to me losing weight. My hair was getting thin. Just a bunch of things were starting to happen. My stomach was protruding. This area right here was swollen or whatnot. My stomach felt like, oh man, like I can't even describe like what the pain felt like. Like it was just like sharp pains. So it was a number of those things that was happening. My strength was going. I was lethargic most times. So, it was a number of those things that made me say, hey, in between those times I was going to the emergency rooms. The first time I went, which is, I think, the end of February 2016, they told me that it was indigestion. So I said, oh, okay, if it's indigestion, no, ain't no final problem. You got Rolaids, Tums, Alka-Seltzer, all these different antacids to take for digestion, thinking that that was the issue, and that was not the issue. They even tried to put a second time I attempted to go. They even tried to give me medicine for a stomach ulcer, and I'm like, I don't have a stomach ulcer because I'm not. I drink, but I'm not a drinker where I drink every day. For me to have a stomach ulcer, like that can't be possible. So when I finally got my hands on my PCP, on my regular physician, and I finally got a chance to go to him. That's when he did a short observation, and he did a ultrasound on me, and that's when he saw that I had a mass on my liver. And from there, that was August the 11th, 2016, and from there, he sent me in through the emergency room through Kings County Hospital right here in Brooklyn, New York City, and I was in the hospital from that day for about a month and 2 weeks.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah, that's that's intense. I know for me, I did not have, I had night sweats. I had extremely bad night sweats. I also had fatigue where I remember telling my mother I was just tired for no reason. I did experiment on myself. Because I was 19 at the time. I was in college. So, and I work out probably most days I work out. And so I would always work out before I go to class just to like get it done and then get to class. And so I skipped the workout I skipped the workout the morning of. I made sure I got very good rest the night before, and I remember getting out of class and calling my mom like, man, I'm still so tired for no reason. There's no reason why I should be tired right now. I haven't worked out. I slept really good last night. I ate like you. I love food, so I ate just fine, and I was tired for no reason. And again, like I said, I had a lump in my neck, so that's what caused me to go to the urgent care doctor. And the urgent care doctor, he knew immediately before I was diagnosed, before we did a biopsy or anything like that. He knew immediately, which was pretty crazy. So, man, it's crazy. Very similar types of cancers, very a couple different types of symptoms. I've had friends that have had the same cancer. They beat their cancer in that first 6 months treatment. It took me 10 years and two bone marrow transplants to beat my cancer. So it's just very interesting how every person's case is vastly different in all types of different nuances and different ways.
Yeah, not Hodgkin's lymphoma is pretty aggressive. So it's a blessing that you're still alive to even talk about it. Because I had a friend who I was very close to, where he had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he spread it from his stomach and it went to his brain. And unfortunately, he passed. He didn't make it. So that's what I learned, the difference between Hodgkin's lymphoma and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Because one is extremely aggressive, where you have to go through a bone marrow and a stem cell transplant because you need more fluidity and more vitamins and more immunity to fight, because it's so aggressive where it hides. It'll go and then
Yes.
it'll pause, and then the next thing you know, it'll go somewhere else because it travels.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had two bone marrow transplants or two stem cell transplants. And the thing with me is like, I would do whatever treatment, I would get into remission, right? The treatment would work. My body would respond, and then the cancer would come back. And I had initially, after I did my first bone marrow transplant, I did some immune therapy treatment. I got to a point where I was in remission. I was in remission for 3 years. I didn't have cancer, and then it came back again. I had to do another bone marrow transplant, and I've been in remission for now 4 years, going on 5 years. So yeah, it is interesting. That was part of the whole situation with my cancers. It just kept coming back. It just kept coming back over and over again, and that was always, it was always just like, it was just hard to deal with, honestly. It was just tough to deal with, and the doctors didn't always understand what was going on, or how to fight and beat this. So like you said, thank God I got through, and I am where I am, man, because you know like your buddy, sorry to hear about your buddy, didn't make it. And so yeah, cancer, just like I said, it varies every case and is extremely different in each way. So I know that you spoke to, like, for me, what I've been come what has come up multiple times has been that when we look back, that we were actually somewhat actually prepared for the situation that we were going through. And I always listen to this podcast. His name is Inky Johnson. His podcast is called Serendipity, and it talks about how moments that seem to be like a failure or seem to be like the worst situation in the world actually end up becoming a lesson or a blessing. And that's what he calls serendipity, being able to like see the good, I guess, in a dark moment, or like what I like to call like tragedy to triumph. uh, so how would you say, or looking back, how could you say that maybe you were actually prepared for a situation like cancer to come into your life and for you to overcome the challenge that you overcame?
Well, seeing what my friend had to go through those chemotherapy appointments and going through those series of doctor's appointments at Sloan Kettering, just so many different facets that I seen him go through. It was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? And not knowing, even around that time, I was sick myself and didn't know the whole time. So, when it got down to me finding out that this is what was happening, automatically I already knew some of the things I would have to ask the doctors, because they were pretty amazed at how, my handle of it was. Because I said, okay, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm here now, but I know what to ask. You know what I'm saying? I know how to now find a way to cope with it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part of the battle, is accepting and embracing that this is where you are. Because God knows from heaven, nobody wants to experience something like that ever. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to hear the C word. Nobody don't want to hear nothing. They'd rather hear anything else but that letter, that word. They don't want to hear it. So for me, it was like, you know what, God, if this is something that I have to go through, then I'm just gonna have to. So be it. You know what I mean? I'm here now. So it was just one of those things where it was surprising. It was to me, it was surprising, because it was like, wow, like I never thought this would happen to me. You know what I mean? But like I said, every everything that I ever was challenged with, what I'm saying, I took it for what it was, and I said, you know what? I now have to fight. I know no other way, because if it wasn't meant for me to be here, I don't think that I would. Most people find on stage one. I was in stage four by the time uh, I was properly diagnosed. And then the doctors was wondering, you know, how I was able to get by for that long by the time I got to them. They couldn't figure out, like, well, how were you doing this? Well, why this didn't happen? All of these other things that they were mentioning that should have happened to me did not happen to me during when it progressing, because I had, even though mine was not in Hodgkin's, it still was progressive. So that was the crazy part. So that was the thing that kind of freaked them out, because they was wondering, well, how did you make it this far? You know what I'm saying? So it's just that particular thing. God will put you in a situation, where you will learn something from somebody being the person in the back seat, not knowing that it may be you. You know what I'm saying? So fortunately for me, I didn't think that it would be me months later. You know what I'm saying? So that was my, so to speak, training ground. Just knowing the ins and the outs, and how to deal with it. Seeing everything that he had to go through, and the loved ones and all of our other friends that had to endure this. It gave me a better picture on how to handle this type of thing. The first word that comes up is, you have to have a positive support system. You need people around you that's going to push you, people that's going to encourage you, people that's going to, be a rock and be a guide and be a constant support and push, because it gets rough. Chemotherapy, that's a monster within itself. You know what I'm saying? And then let alone that you have to deal with the fact that it is cancer, and now the outcome for most is always death. So those things sit in your mind. You begin to rehearse things. That's like, wow, like, like I don't want this to be me. I'm gonna do all that I can, but it does messes with your mental. But aside from that, you learn balance with just having a positive state of mind about it. So that's pretty much what prepared me for my journey with it, and how I was able to handle all the ins and outs and the ups and downs of the battle I was faced with at that time.
Yeah. And it's similar to you, right? I don't think anybody thinks they're gonna get cancer until they get it. It's always like, Oh, no way. Even growing up, when you're hearing about it, you're just like, no way I would ever get cancer. That's impossible. Even like I'm an athlete, man, I work out, I do things to be healthy. I've seen like a pretty healthy guy, and I've met people that have gotten cancer that they were the healthiest of the healthy and they got cancer. They ate all the organic foods. They didn't, smoke cigarettes. They had an active lifestyle. They eat a balanced diet, this, that, and the other that you would say is a healthy lifestyle, and they still got cancer. And so that always kind of blows my mind. But again, nobody ever thinks they're gonna get cancer until they get it. And so you spoke a little bit. You spoke on the mental piece, but you also spoke on the support part, having those rocks in your life, those support. What did that look like for you? How did people respond, and how did your friends and family, the people that care about you, respond when they figured out that you had cancer?
A lot of them responded. They took it better than what I actually thought they was going to take it. Like I was really amazed at how much support that I got from, family and friends that, just got around me, and, they showed me a lot of love throughout that time. I had God sent a lot of people. Fortunately, maybe three of them wasn't here no more because they all died. Two of them died from cancer, and one had sickle cell anemia disease. But all my other friends who were still alive and remain, I had a huge support system of so many different people. Even in the music circuit, a lot of people reached out to me. A lot of people came to see me. People were sending me encouraging messages. People was coming to see me. All laughs. People was just more so like, okay, Matt, we want to see you live. We want you to make it. A lot of people I had. Oh, I can't even. The outpour was just like, wow. Like, I can't believe, if I didn't know nothing else in my life, I know that I am loved and was loved and is, because I mean, that helped. When you see my nieces, my nephews, the babies, the neighbors, so many people prayed for me. The phone calls, the texts, people sending food, people just going out of their way just to see all about me, not being nosy, not being, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Malicious. But people was just genuinely concerned about hearing about, like, wait a minute, not the guy that's always smiling and laughing and joking and not him. No, that you can't be talking about him. Some people didn't even believe it that had happened to me, because some people was like, nah, not Matt. Matt always worked out. Matt always danced. No, you can't be talking about him. You know what I'm saying? So, seeing all those people that came to the hospital when I was on all the machines, when I was struggling, couldn't walk as much, didn't even have an appetite to eat, couldn't eat anything, was in pain. So many people came to the hospital to see me, and that helped me to say, like, yo, I gotta live. There's some people out here that really love me. You know what I mean? These people rock with me hard. Like, they love me for real. You know what I'm saying? So when you see that, that gives you an extra fight on top of the fight that you already got, because you got people that's coming to see you. They checking on you. My friends, my four friends, they came to the hospital. I mean, those guys was up there day and night. They walked me, they got me out of my bed, they walked me around. You know what I'm saying? One of them was up there cracking jokes, making sure I was laughing all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it was all of that. Like, I can't say I had not one sad, gloomy moment during that whole process, because God actually kept me busy the whole time. It was some days where I got emotional. It was some days where my anxiety got in the way. It was some days where, I was beginning to feel the sting from it. But on the flip side, I had to remember, like, what? It could be much worse. You know what I mean? Think of all the other things that somebody else got it worse than you. You know what I mean? So I didn't allow it to, put me in a funk. I didn't allow it, even though I would get there, yes, I would get there, but I wouldn't stay there. You know what I'm saying? Turn on me some music. I had neuropathy in my feet, couldn't feel my legs, couldn't walk. My homegirl Steph was like, all right, Matt, come on, we going out. Ball head and all. I found a way to make it work. Like, you know what? I got a bald head. I ain't got no eyelashes. I ain't got no beard. I ain't got no nothing. I got me a couple of scarves. I'm putting on me a scarf. I'm gonna get dressed and I'm going outside. You know what I'm saying? And that going outside, seeing people, people saw how courageous I was in strength. Because I'm like, I didn't care. I'm like, you know what? I'm alive. If nothing else. You know what I'm saying? So just the fact that I still have the opportunity to breathe, I'll get back to what I used to look like. But right now, I'm just focusing on living. You know what I'm saying? So it was all that support that even from the doctors and the nurses, you know, strangers that I've never even thought that, you know, could love a person or like a person. That guy was me. You know, the nurses would check on me day and night. And to this day, I go back there to see those nurses, and a good portion of them that haven't retired that's still there. Every time I see them, they bawl cry. Oh God, Macho! It's good to see you. So it was one of those things, you know, day and night. Those nurses even took care of me. They was bringing me food and stuff that they wasn't even supposed to do. You know, a lot of these people looked out for me. Like God really sent some good people my way. So I had a whole host of angels and a whole host of people that was just with me. You know what I mean? So if I wanted to give up, I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a good, strong support system that's like, nah, we're not gonna let you. You know what I mean? My mother, when she finally, you know, came to terms with it, you know, because my mother was very frightened. She didn't know what to expect. And I'm the baby of the four children. So, you know, like my son don't drink, he don't do this, and she couldn't understand that either. You know what I mean? But I told my mother, like, my mother pulled out the insurance policy. That's how bad it got. And I said, no, you put that thing back. Not with me. I ain't trying to go nowhere no time soon. I said, now if God said otherwise, then I guess this is it. But I said, I don't think that I'm going to die. I just didn't see that. You know what I mean? And as worse as I was, that was one of the things that never crossed my mind. You know what I'm saying? But my thing was, I'm like, all right, God, if it was meant for me to go, I think I wouldn't be here now. You know what I mean? So this is just another chapter where I'm just going to have to learn from it and, you know, grow from it. And that time I learned a lot about myself. You know what I mean? But that support system was like it put you in the overdrive. Like it just gave me a whole boost. It gave me a zeal. It made me much more confident. It made me much more victorious. You know what I'm saying? To help me know, like, you know what? I'm not in the ring by myself. I got some people that's gonna help me fight, and that's how I was able to get through, you know, all those tough times that I was dealing with at that time.
Yeah. That support system is no joke, man. Like without that, I would be nothing. My mom is a big fighter for me. She would be at all my appointments, asking all the questions. You know, I had similar to you. I had big support system, man, and I always say everything. The reason why I do the things I do in my life are for the people that I love and care for in my life. You know, like I do things to make my parents proud. You know, I have a little sister. I do things to lead by example, to show my little sister that things are possible and what it looks like to be like a good person in this world, right? I got people, friends and family that that they want to see me happy, right? And vice versa, you know. And so at the end of the day, everything I do is for the people in my life, right? Like I go to work, I'm wherever, you know, you could call that, you know, like you spending time for money, you spending your time to make money so you can get back and hang out and spend time with your people, so you can go on vacations with your people, eat with your people, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, the biggest why, and honestly the best things in life always happen in teams, right? Like I know you're an award-winning songwriter, right? But you had a team help you with that song. You feel me? You feel me? Like, right, the best things happen in teams. I grew up playing team sports, right? And you and I are both a testament to this, right? We beat cancer, and because we were a part of something bigger than just us, right? We were part of our families' lives, our friends' lives, right? Because that you we couldn't give up. I couldn't give up. I have to show up for them and myself, right? And it brings you to higher heights than if it was just you by yourself. man. And so I love to hear that you had so much support. And because I know there's people out there that might not have this, might not feel that support and that love that you felt or that I felt, you know? And that's when I always tell people to rely and stay close to their faith, like you said earlier, to pray. And because no matter what, right, God is always there with you. And so I think that's real important as well. So, I know you were speaking to it being tough going through your chemo and recovering from that. I know you said you had neuropathy. There was times when it was hard to walk. I'm sure there was other symptoms and side effects. For me, I always was pretty nauseous getting chemo. What was it like? What were you kind of going through trying to heal it and get through those chemo treatments? What kind of outside of your support and being positive,
Mhm.
what kind of helped you get through all that?
Wow. I mean, basically, I was always a busy guy. From a little boy, I was always busy. I was always told, always, Matthew, always, that boy always doing something, always into something, always doing something. I found something to do. If it wasn't cleaning, it was cooking. If it wasn't cooking, it was going out to things. So during the chemotherapy, I started going out. Friends were like, "You sure?" I said, "I'm going outside. I gotta be around people. I can't disattach myself from the world because of what my present circumstance is." The word you kept saying was show up, show up. I was like, you know what? Somebody gonna gain strength from this because people would expect you, as sick as you could be in that moment, as sick as you are. People would expect you to not be nowhere. I was the complete opposite. I said, you know what? I gotta be outside. If I'm well enough to get out of my bed, I'm gonna hurt if I stay home. It's gonna hurt if I go out. But it felt like, the God honest truth, the more I got up to go, the better I felt. Because staying at home, home is where your emotions are, home is where your heart is, home is where your thoughts are. You know what I'm saying? And when you home watching the world go around and it's like you're not a part of it, it does something to you mentally. Like, like wow, like people outside walking, taking advantage of the things that I can't do. So I want to come back that was saying, hey, while you're out there, don't take this for granted because look at me. Even though I'm out here with you, but don't take it for granted because you could be me, just like I once was you a little while ago. I'm gonna get back here. You know what I'm saying? But if you got this moment today, if walking down the street is all you have to do as a task, enjoy it. Because right now I can't walk down the street not as fast as you. You know what I'm saying? So it was things like that where I felt I have to stay connected. I went out mainly to musical events because I'm an artist. So anywhere I knew where live music was, my friends dragged me out. Come on, we going. Got up, got dressed, went. Those things helped me through chemo. Company. I had good friends that came to see me, kept me on my toes, kept me laughing. That helped. In my spare time, I got up because I like to clean. I'm an OCD guy. Like I don't like dust. I don't like filth. Can't stand it. That helped me to get up and moving. That was the first thing that got me up and moving. My room looked a mess. And I said, oh no, I can't lay here like this. My mother left me in the bed laying there. Oh, oh, oh. She came back. Homeboy was moving around. I still, matter of fact, I'm going to show you something. Give me a second, let me show you. These blue pants. These pants here. were my pajamas that I wore, washed and wore every day while I was sick. I would get up, wash up. I had a bald head, so I like oils and stuff like that. So I would grease my head. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had no bed. I ain't had nothing to comb. So I'm like, all right, I'm getting out of this bed. I would hold on to a chair, and I'm like, all right, Matt. I would find the smallest thing to do first to build momentum, to get me out of the bed, to get moving. Waking up every day, cleaning out the bathroom, cleaning, washing the dishes, becoming active again. You know what I'm saying? Because if you lay there, you'll get sick. Your brain will tell your body we're sick. And I said I don't want my brain to start telling the rest of my body we're sick. I gotta combat that. And when you put your body to gravity, your body fights. Sickness fights against gravity. When you're laying, if you had a cold, you feel much more relieved laying down. Get up and start trying to work while that cold is attacking you. It feels like you in hell because it's like your body and gravity is like, hey. So that every day getting up, doing certain things, help me to get active, help me to start moving, help some blood to start flowing. You know, got my mind because now I have to think now. I'm like, okay, I hadn't done this in a while, so let me find a way to get through this. It might be a little painful, but I gotta get up. So that was my thing. Like I gotta keep moving. I can't lay here. If I lay here, I'll die. I just knew if I lay here, I'm going to die because if I just lay around and not do nothing and just totally shut off everything, everybody, and just get into my space where I don't want to do anything because my pride is not going to allow for people to see me. I said, oh no, I was weighing about 103 pounds by now. Skinny as it was hot outside. I threw on my jeans. I still had the band-aids and stuff from from the ports and stuff. I got up and I went outside. Took a nice slow walk. My mother said, "You sure you gonna be okay?" I said, "Yeah, Mom. I'm gonna take a slow walk." And I took my time. I took my time. I was a little shaky because I didn't know what was going to happen because neuropathy keep you have spaghetti legs. So I was a little fidgety. I was a little nervous, but I said, Matt, by His stripes we're here. We gonna get through this. You know what I'm saying? I had to have a conversation with God the whole way. I said, you know what, God, I'm out here. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I'm going to do this. You told me that I can do this. So we're gonna fight. That's where the fight begins. When you now have to get up and say, you know what, I refuse to lay here and die. I'm not doing that. And that's what helped me. You know what I'm saying? I went to the movies. I started doing all the things that I like to do when I was able enough to do it. And that's what helped. And it seemed like the more I did it, the better I got. The better I got. The better I got, the stronger I got, the much more um stronger I got. You know what I'm saying? And then not only that, it just helped. It just made a whole big statement on so many different levels. Even me going on Facebook Lives, all my Facebook Lives, people, even to this day, people like, Matt, why don't you go live? We love when you go live because that's what I did. I would go live like, hey y'all, it's another day. What's going on? I'm sitting here eating, and people would come on my live, and I would just be talking, just encouraging people. Like, listen, y'all see me, like, this could be you tomorrow. Take the chance to enjoy today. You know what I'm saying? So I did things like that. I was making juices and stuff like that. So I would get live and say, y'all, I'm making some green juice. I had a small little infomercial singing green juice, and people loved it. I was just being silly. And I said, you know what, y'all, let me share with y'all what I'm learning. So basically it was a sharing thing for me because I was learning. So while I was learning, I said, you know what I'm learning, I want to be able to share it with somebody else. Like, you guys, hey, start drinking this kind of stuff because I don't want you to be where I am. You know what I mean? So for those of y'all that don't know, I'm going to educate y'all. And there's so many people that still reach out to me to this day, asking me for different recipes, different things to take, different things to try, different things because I was always vocal, going live, telling people while I was going through chemotherapy, a daily progress report on what was happening to me. You know what I'm saying? And then people seeing me in between the time was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I could say honestly, that time it was a bad situation, but I made the best of it. You know what I'm saying? And I saw some good rewards from it. You know.
Yeah, man, I love what you said. It was very similar for me as well. And what I call it is just a sense of normalcy. Is what I like to call it, right? Like doing normal everyday things that you would normally be doing, right? And it make you feel like like a little bit like you don't actually have cancer. It make you feel like you are still living, you're still a normal person, right? I didn't ever want to be looked at as like handicapped or
Right.
disabled or right, like I'm not saying I didn't appreciate people helping me, but like I don't really need all this assistance. I'm actually pretty good right now, even though I'm going through this cancer thing, right? And so for me, a lot of it was I spent a lot of time playing basketball still. And so for me, it felt good to be able to go into the gym, get some buckets, win some games with some of my buddies, that, and they know I have cancer, but everybody else ain't know I had cancer. And if I didn't tell them, you wouldn't have known. And I was giving you some buckets, and I just got done with chemo. You know what I'm saying? So that gave me, similar to like you said, staying busy, a sense of normalcy, and kept me going, kept me fighting, kind of kept me going. So I like what you said about just staying busy, keeping your mind busy, being able, again, like you said, right, your people and support, it's all about the people, being able to share that with people, right? Like when I had my bone marrow transplants, I would share posts every day. When you do a bone marrow transplant, you go in and it starts negative days. It's like negative day 10, and then it leads up all the way to the day of your transplant. The day of your transplant is day 0, and then it goes into positive days all the way to like day 30 when you get out of the hospital or whatever. And I would log every day, like day 2, I'm doing this, and take a picture and share, right? Day 3, I'm doing this, and I'm taking a picture, or I take a video, or whatever that was, right? And just be able to share with people. When I was in the hospital, people were coming and bringing me food, playing card games with me. Everybody was visiting me, and being able to share those moments. Because people ask me, like, what was it like going through cancer,
Uh
right?
huh.
And I always say, it was actually right. I can't say it wasn't always just bad, right? It was actually pretty normal times. I was doing a lot of very normal things that people do. I was still hanging out with a lot of people, and some of the times were some of the happiest times that I've had in my life, where we're smiling, we're laughing, we're listening to music, we're playing a game or something, and I'm like, yeah, man, like some of it was actually really fun and was just like a normal life, right? and and so that's not obviously the stereotype that people would think when you hear cancer and somebody going through cancer. That's not what they think top of mind. That's not the first thing that pops into their mind. But I had a lot of very normal, very happy days while I was going through this. I mean, like 10 years, right, of dealing with cancer on and off, right? Eventually it kind of became very normal to at some points to have cancer, to be going to doctor's appointments, to be getting PET scans, your blood drawn, stuff like that. Even like last Friday, I had my 6 month checkup, right? I'm still dealing with cancer. I had a 6 month checkup. It was all good. They told me I don't have to get no more scans anymore, right? So it's good news, but I'm still, right? It's still pretty much kind of like a normal thing to just deal with the doctors and deal with all that. So, yeah, I agree with you. That sense of normalcy helped me so much in my whole journey, being able to just feel like a normal person, not just a person that has cancer, right? That was a big thing for me. Um, so right, last question, and then we'll get up out of here. We'll wrap this thing up. What was the best advice what is the best advice that anybody has ever given to you in your life? It doesn't have to pertain to cancer. Just in general, what is the best advice that somebody has ever given to you?
The best advice. Ooh, I've gotten I've gotten a lot of stuff from some good people. But I would say the best advice that I've gotten, show up. Show up. Because when you show up, it's not about the people. It's about showing the world that, even through this challenge, I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to show up for what I believe in. I'm going to show up for what I love. And I'm going to show up because this is who I am. This is what make up my molecule. This is what make up me. Continue to show up. Regardless of what it is that you're facing, regardless of what it is that you're dealing with. You know, you can overcome any obstacle, but you just got to show up. You know what I mean? Nothing beats a failure but a try. And always take the word can't out of your vocabulary. I can, I will, and I shall. Those are the words that you always want to use through every situation, through every walk, through every journey, through every battle, through every series of our Lifeline series. Those should be the words. I will, I can, I will, and I shall. And those three words are powerful. Take the words can't out. When people tell you what you can't do, you show up and you do it. If it's within your power to do, you know what you can do. You know what you can't do. God has equipped you with everything that you need. Everything you need is on the inside of you. All you have to do is show up. You know what I'm saying? Don't depend on other people to get you to show up. Show up. Yeah, we need that push. We need that kick sometimes. But then you also got to remember within yourself, why am I still alive? Why am I still here? Why did I go through that journey to just sit here and not learn from it? You know what I'm saying? You have to take all of what you learn, all of what you experience. That's what now gives you a thing called wisdom. And you now have to show up because somebody is depending on you to give them something that's going to help them along the way. You know what I'm saying? So show up, show up, show up, show up,
Yes.
show up. Make no apologies for it. Be authentically you. Understand that you are you. Nobody can be you. There's only one you, and be proud of everything that's on you, and be the best you, and show up being you. Don't be nobody else. It's hard enough being yourself. You know what I'm saying? Understand who you are as a person. You know, have a sense of self. Always keep your self-esteem in check. Always have a sense of who you are, and and stay true to yourself. Always be true to yourself in any instinct. If you know that's not you, it's not me. And don't let people convince you what's for you.
Yeah. I love that. Show up. It Man, because right, everything you've tried to do in your life, you've done it. You've accomplished it. All the hard days you ever had in your life, you got through them 100% of the time. And all you had to do really was show up. And if you show up and like you said, stay true to yourself, it's it's easier than ever to imitate and copy everybody with social media, with the internet, right? But being able to know who you are, be educated on who you are, and to know yourself and always stand right. Always stand for who you are and what you believe in, right? They say if you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? You So always showing up as yourself, man, and being true to yourself is really important. I love that advice. I love that advice, and something that I always try to make sure that I always hold to in my life as well. So I really appreciate that.
Can't
Yeah.
be can't be nobody else. 'Cause
Hey, and like you said, it's hard enough to be yourself. It's
never. One thing I would like to add, same thing. Even jealous. Search your heart. Make sure you're not wanting the things of another, because you don't know the price that person paid. Just like you paid for everything that you have, there's a consequence. There's a set of consequences and a set of responsibilities that come with everything that we are equipped with. It's hard enough. Don't want what everybody else got. Don't want it. Keep what you have. It's the one thing that you got that's good and it's great and it's magnificent and it's excellent. You keep that one thing until the wheels fall off. Because
Yes.
that's the one thing that you have that's going to always be great. Because guess what? Somebody else can't handle the one thing that you got because it'll kill them.
Hmm.
Just like you can't handle the 10 things that they got because you don't know what responsibility that lies behind those 10 things that they got. So everything looks one way, magnified. But when the surface is not magnified, it's all the things that you don't see behind the scenes that's like, whoa, I don't want that. So
Yes. Always. Right? Because like whatever you have, that's what's for you, and everybody can have what's for them. Right?
mhm.
It's not this big competition like I get and you don't, or you get and I don't. It's not. That's not how the world works. The world is abundant. There's plenty of money, opportunity, everything out here for everybody. Right? And it's continuously expanding. There's more technology. There's more opportunity. There's more research being done. People are learning and finding out new ways to do new things, right? So there's enough for everybody. There's enough for you to get yours. You know what I'm saying? And I really do believe in, like, right, like they say, my dad always say, not all money is good money. It's not, it's not, that's not all for you. That wasn't meant for you. That's not yours, right? So, man, there you go. There you have it. Jazzy Matt, going in on staying positive, staying true to yourself, being authentic, showing up, staying prayed up. That's how we overcome challenges around here. Make sure to go and check out the website, BeastvsZombie.com. You can get merchandise. All the 10% of all proceeds is donated to cancer research and cancer awareness. Matt, tell them where they can find you, and a little bit about what you do, about what you got going on.
You can find me at Jazzy Matt on Instagram and Facebook. So I am a Swiss Army knife kind of guy. I do my best to operate in all gifts, all talents. So on my page, you'll probably see me cracking jokes. You'll probably see me singing. You'll probably see me cooking. You'll probably see a whole bunch of stuff because I'm a very complex man in a good degree because I'm many different things to many different people, and being a chameleon, as best as I am at heart, that's who I am. I'm anointed to be who I am, many different facets. I'm embracing that I'm a Swiss Army knife, and that's what you'll find me doing. So that you can follow me there. I have music that's also out. I'm also a recording artist, so I have music that's out there on all digital streaming platforms. Jazzy Mac, Christmas time is here. Christmas gift. Got a song out called Every Day the Same. I have an excellent video that's on YouTube with the song. Got a song called It's Gonna Be Alright. That's actually the song I won an award for. So yeah, all of those things. So I'm just the guy that's here. You know what I mean? I'm just celebrating life, just loving life, just loving people, you know what I'm saying? And then just, accepting the whole fact of who I am supposed to be. And that's pretty much that. So that's where I'm at, y'all. JAZZEMATT, Instagram, Facebook. Follow me. Follow me in my journey when I'm up there. Y'all see me. Might be talking some good stuff. I might be talking some humorous stuff, but most of the times I really don't get up there unless I got something to say. If I got something to say, y'all gonna hear about it. From world politics to everything, even if it's down to a bad weave. Like, listen, y'all, let's talk about it.
I'm all for it.
But it's all
Hey,
love,
so
though.
y'all make sure to go follow Jazzy Mal on all social profiles. Follow the podcast at BeastvsZombie on all social media, Spotify, YouTube. You'll see the full videos. New episodes launched every other week. Again, check out the website, BeastvsZombie.com. That's all we got for you guys today. Have a good rest of your day, you guys. Be a beast.
Be a beast.